Hi, I'm Clown Kool-Aid, but you can just call me Clown. If you couldn't already tell by the title of this video, I quite like this little dual screen gem of a handheld, and I especially like its modding capabilities. I surprisingly, though, only got this console this past year and haven't even owned one previously. The 3DS in all of its glory is quite new to me, but from the little time I've had with it, it's been a very enjoyable experience. I've been wanting to play one for a while since I had only ever emulated it, and my experience with the DS library really only consisted of Animal Crossing New Leaf, Mario Kart DS, and Face Raiders on my friend's 3DS. So I went on eBay with the money my friend gifted me and bought a used, like new, Japanese 3DS off some tech company's eBay page. I thankfully only had to pay $100 for it and had to get some third-party charger off Amazon. It arrived safe and sound and wasn't really beat up or anything. It did have some dead pixels on the top of the screen, but weirdly, over time, they slowly disappeared and they haven't shown up again. Since it was a Japanese console, I did need to mod it either way so I could play some games region free, but whoever owned this console before me actually had already modded it, so it was region unlocked on the get-go to play US titles. So it was as simple as putting in a new SD card and just updating the mod so I could download homebrew and other things onto it. Once I got to mod this thing, I realized the full potential the 3DS had as a handheld console.
We'll be right back after these short messages.
The first time I saw you, I knew we'd be linked forever. For you, I traveled to the four corners of the world. I faced adversity. I became a hero.
Dad.
I saved your kingdom.
Dad.
Yes, Zelda?
Are you mixing me up with the princess again?
Hard to say. You're both pretty magical.
Coming up next on Clown Kool-Aid.
Surprisingly, the 3DS was not the first console they had experimented 3D with. Nintendo had 3D actually go way back into the 90s with a release and flop that was the Virtual Boy. Breaking kids' eyes and having an overall small lineup of games, the Virtual Boy was ultimately taken off store shelves only a year after launch and was considered an ultimate failure by Nintendo. Fast forward a couple years and Nintendo decides to launch their DS line of handheld systems, getting much praise to the joy of customers and had multiple iterations made and eventually became the second best-selling video game console of all time. The last iteration of the DS, the DSi, was released and got rid of the GBA slot previous iterations had in favor for the ability to connect to the internet and had a camera to take photos and videos. The DSi did fairly well, and it laid the groundwork for what eventually became the 3DS. Speculation quickly grew over Nintendo's next handheld console, and with both the groundwork that the DSi set and the popularity of 3D movies in theaters and 3D TVs in homes, Nintendo decided to release a console with features that the DSi had, such as online eShop and a camera system combined with their new discoveries into the 3D market to create what is now known as the 3DS. Announced on March 23rd at E3 2010, does anyone even remember E3 anymore? Anyways, they had officially announced that their successor to the DS family, and people were not too excited. Surprisingly, the 3DS sold very poorly with audiences as the price was very high at the time, being $250 compared to the price of the DS Lite, which was $150, and exclusives were either lackluster or already had been seen before. Eventually though, due to popular demand, the price was decreased to $170, with the original price customers receiving the Ambassador program, which included some retro Nintendo titles as a reward for paying more only a couple of months before the price had dropped for everyone else. The 3DS only grew more popular over time as it received more support and better games such as the N64 Zelda remakes, Mario Kart 7, and many more titles over time. The 3DS later was announced to discontinue in 2020, due to the Switch already being 3 years into its own life cycle and it being a hybrid console and home console, replacing the need for a separate portable console entirely. The 3DS had looked very fondly upon towards the end of its life, and now over half a decade its death do we still see lots of community support from modders and homebrew.
Coming up next on Clown Kool-Aid.
Initially modding the 3DS, there are a lot of options for things like homebrew, emulation, ports, etc. But there are only a few things I want to cover today that really stand out to me mod-wise. One of the first and the best things on a modded 3DS are probably the custom themes you can do with the homebrew app Anemone. Anemone? whatever. Thousands of community-made themes and icons that you can use on your 3DS, and they are really cool. Look, it's the overused joke of installing the Better Call Saul theme! I personally have a Wii theme to match my white color of my 3DS, but I've tried other themes like a Mimikyu theme, a Yokai Watch theme, and a lot of others. There are a lot of really cool themes to pick from so that everyone's 3DS can be unique and fit their own style. One piece of homebrew software I see quite a lot of people using is one that allows a lot of play coins to be generated pretty easily. If you don't know what play coins are, they are basically a currency that generates every 100 steps you take, which is predicted by the built-in step counter on the 3DS. And of course, because you have to basically go outside and touch grass to generate any play coins, a lot of people actually just instead decide to download these homebrew apps to generate a bunch onto their console. These play coins are used in a bunch of different games. I personally use them to buy fortune cookies in Animal Crossing New Leaf so I can get Nintendo themed items, but that's besides the point. I personally don't really like to use these apps because I walk and I actually touch grass, unlike a lot of other people, you know, like you should do with your portable console. Another really cool piece of homebrew is the Universal Updater. This app basically serves the same purpose as the homebrew shop does on the Wii modding scene. This is a place you go get any other homebrew apps you want and even some ports for other games like Apotris. Best version of Tetris, by the way, and I will die on that hill. Speaking of ports, the 3DS community has made lots of them, and there are some really impressive ones here to check out. I personally have the Fallout 1 and 2 ports on the 3DS, as these are really cool. The player character and the world are displayed on the top screen, and all the actions like NPC dialogue, responses, and turn-based combat choices are displayed on the bottom screen. This is probably one of the best ways to play these original games, and I've seen a lot of other people say it's actually how they beat the games for the first time. Other ports I've gotten the chance to check out are Doki Doki Literature Club and the FNAF port to the 3DS. Both really popular horror franchises are surprisingly really good and playable on this console, and I would consider the FNAF ports to be one of the best ways to play the original sit and survive format of the classic FNAF games. While those ports are awesome, being a Sonic fan myself, of course, I have to talk about the classic Sonic games decompilations on the console as well. You can play Sonic 1, 2, CD, and Mania all on the 3DS. If you just do a couple of really simple steps, you can just get some of the best Sonic games running on the 3DS. These are really good ports, minus some slowdowns in Mania, especially during the special stages, but it's still pretty playable. That now adds the 3DS as another one of the millions of consoles that Sonic Mania has been ported to now.
We'll be right back after these short messages.
Why do we play 3DS?
Because battles can happen anywhere.
Because playing in the dark is so awesome. It's scary.
Whoa! Because driving your family crazy is crazy fun.
Because visiting our friends is just the best.
Duh.
Why do we play 3DS?
Because it's Nintendo. Why do you play?
Nintendo 3DS and 2DS bring games, characters, and friends together. Games rated E for everyone.
Coming up next on Clown Kool-Aid.
If you talk to any person who has modded their 3DS, they are first going to give you the classic line, it wasn't even that hard. But then they aren't going to tell you how they actually got the bajillions of games on their 3DS. May I present to you the H-Shop. Dear Nintendo, what I am about to talk about is purely for education purposes, and in no way do I support or condone piracy. With that one little disclaimer out of the way, this is the H-Shop. This little piece of software lets you download any 3DS game, and I really do mean any 3DS game. So if, hypothetically, you owned a game physically but wanted to simply play it or get another copy for your 3DS digitally, you could do that for any game you wanted to in the 3DS library. This has let me experience a lot of the amazing titles from this library and family of systems, and it has really been convenient if someone recommends a game to me on my 3DS. There's also other apps like Ghost eShop, which let you download DS games onto your 3DS, which if you use an app like NDS Forwarder, you can even get up to 40 DS games on your home screen, which is pretty neat. Speaking of the DS family library though, I wanted to talk about some of the amazing games I've gotten to play on this really cool handheld. Like for example, finally getting to play my favorite Animal Crossing game, Animal Crossing New Leaf, on original hardware. I had only ever played it emulated on Citra, and now that I actually own a 3DS, I get to play the game on original hardware like intended, and it's leagues better than any emulator could ever play this game. Getting to actually interact with the bottom screen menu and seeing the map at all times has been way better for me than having to switch between two screens whenever I need to access the menu or respond to NPCs, and it's made the game so much more addicting and enjoyable. Another great game I've got to experience for the first time is Tomodachi Life. I can only ever really describe the game as Sims but with the Miis, and that concept is really cool to me. I've already sunk so many hours into this, putting so many random characters in there that I like, or people I know in real life. And all these little interactions with the Miis you add to the island are so fun and cool. It makes me really excited for living the dream whenever that comes out later this year. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the port of Ace Attorney 1 to the 3DS. With the announcement from Capcom that they would be focusing on smaller franchises like Mega Man and Ace Attorney, got me really interested to try out those games for the first time, as someone who isn't really into visual novels all too much. And let me be the first one to say, this game is so much more than just a simple visual novel. The little investigations you do and the actual courtroom scenes are some of the best visual novel gimmicks I've seen, and it really got me sucked into the game as someone who doesn't play a lot of games from this genre. This story and gameplay were really captivating and has got me really excited to play other games in the franchise because I really enjoyed what I've experienced from Ace Attorney on the 3DS. The 3DS is a really fun way to play a lot of games I've mentioned so far, but another really awesome feature of the 3DS is getting to play ROM hacks and mods for pre-existing games. One of the most popular ROM hacks for the 3DS is CTGP7, a map and character mod from Mario Kart 7 that adds a bunch of new maps and characters into the game. Some of my favorite stages like DS Tick-Tock Clock have been ported over, and some of my favorite Mario characters like Birdo have even been added to make the game feel pretty fresh with its content. Even non-Mario characters have been added, like Kirby and Sonic, to add much needed variety to the basic roster of Mario characters. I boot up this ROM hack whenever I want to play a little Mario Kart on the go, whether I'm on the bus or a short road trip somewhere. Another really cool mod is the most popular mod for Tomodachi Life, Tomodachi Life Enterprise. This mod adds a bunch of new rooms for Miis to live in, and also adds a lot of new food and gifts to the game, like Baja Blast for a drink, and a Glock as a giftable item to your Miis. This on top of the game mod makes Tomodachi Life feel pretty modern and make the game way funner to play. Lastly, there's also DS game patches, like the analog stick patch for a lot of games like Mario 64 DS and Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. The circle pad patches actually make these games go from pretty horrible D-pad games to really fun games that are enjoyable, and dare I even say make Mario 64 DS the most definitive way to play Super Mario 64. These aren't just for these two games though, and make a lot of other pretty mediocre DS games pretty enjoyable ways to play on the 3DS circle pad. Some even have a widescreen patch, so 3D DS games look better on the 3DS top screen.
Coming up next on Clown Kool-Aid.
Overall, the 3DS is a pretty fun handheld, and I would even say the best handheld of them all if you're looking into a console to mod. Just maybe look out for those prices though, because they are starting to get worse and worse as time progresses. Either way, I do really enjoy my 3DS and all of its capabilities as a console, and I hope this basic video, like all other 3DS videos out there, convinced you to pick one up, or even bring out your old dusty one to play once again. Until next time, this is Clown, signing off. See ya.